So now we'll begin with your next chapter, that is unit 3 under your cost accounting, that is employee cost. Okay, to begin with this particular chapter, firstly you have your introduction. Now your employee cost is basically employee cost. Employees are the most important assets of the organization, and employee cost is one of the most important element in a concern using more manual operations. Okay, the management objective of keeping labor cost as low as possible is achieved by balancing productivity with wages. Now if you want to reduce your labor cost, you have to balance between productivity and wages. Now in the big organization, these are the following departments wherein you're coordinating. Now in case of cost department, it collects and classifies. Okay, these are the various departments of the organization. Now in case of cost department, it collects and classifies all cost data relating to labor utilization by departments and allocates them to respective jobs as per the available documents. This is in terms of cost departments, what they do. This is the kind of work which is involved in the various departments regarding your employee cost. Okay, now in your payroll department, what they do is they undertake responsibility for computing total and net earnings of each worker. Preparation of payroll and maintenance of payroll is nothing but whatever their salary, their bonuses and everything is. Okay, and maintenance of various records relating to the payroll. Now in case of time office, it collects data. In case of the office time, whatever the time during the time of the office, it collects necessary data to attendance, whether the employees come, what is the time that the employee spent on job or processed by the workmen, and providing information on attendance and leave to the payroll department. Okay, how many leaves the person has taken, how many leaves the employee has taken, whether the employee has been very particular to job, what is the time he's attended for the suppose 8 to 9 is the working hours, whether he's been present throughout the day, or whatever information is there, that will be collected. Okay, for the payment of payroll. Next is industrial engineering department. In industrial engineering department, it processes plans and specification of each jobs, supervises production activities undertaken time and motion studies, performs job analysis. They perform job analysis and everything as such. Various necessary details will be taken into consideration. Okay, now in case of personnel department, undertakes the responsibility of manpower planning, recruitment, training, maintaining records, staff, reporting to chief inspector, factories to top management, and on performance, overtime, absenteeism. Okay, well, based on whatever information is needed, they will record each and everything, whether training is given, whether they're absent, whether all the how they have reported, and each and every detail which is required in a particular organization will be reported and taken into consideration. Next, you have classification of employee cost. Classification of employee cost is basically, it can be classified into two, that is direct employee cost and indirect employee cost. Now what is direct employee cost? Direct employee cost is nothing but the labor cost. Okay, employee cost is nothing but your labor cost which is incurred on workers, okay, who are directly involved in production activities of converting raw material into finished goods. Okay, converting raw material into finished good is called as direct labor cost. Example, wages paid to workers engaged in manufacturing department assembling. Okay, this is direct employee cost. It's basically based on people who are directly involved in converting raw material to finished good. Now indirect employee cost is nothing but it is a cost which is incurred in employees who are not directly involved in production, but they assist in the process of supervision, maintenance, etc., are called as indirect labor cost. Example, salaries given to staff in the office. Example, administration. Okay, this is direct employee cost and indirect employee cost. Next is you have attendance procedure. Attendance procedure is nothing but timekeeping. Okay, this is most important in the department of the organization because it helps in controlling the cost, and the main objective of this department is to identify whether any time is lost unnecessarily by the workers, whether the people the employees in the office are working properly, if they're attending from that particular time to the time that is allotted to them, whether they are taking any leaves or anything as such. All of that information will be recorded. Okay, this can be grouped into manual and mechanical. Timekeeping can be grouped in manual or mechanical. Now manual is nothing but attendance register wherein your name will be written and you will have to put a sign next to it at the time you enter and at the time you're walking out. Okay, token or disc method is nothing but token or disc is basically you will be allotted various numbers or tokens. Okay, you will be allotted various tokens or numbers based on your names, and whatever it is, you will have to collect that particular token while you're entering the gate, and you will have to submit it back while you're leaving the particular gate. Next is your mechanical method. Mechanical method is nothing but it is a machine which will be installed wherein it will take your fingerprint. Okay, it will once your fingerprint is given, it will record that particular time of which for attendance. At the time time you enter and when at the time you're leaving, also you will have to give your fingerprint. Now the main advantage of installing time recording clocks are, firstly, correct recording of attendance for workers are made. Okay, then where payment is made by result. Now payment is completely dependent on how many hours you're working, what are the leaves you're taking, okay, how much are you serving towards the organization, and how much are you contributing towards the organization. Where payment method made by results, such as piece rate method, it would still be necessary to receive correctly the in and out timing. Okay, what time is the employee coming in and what time is the employee working out. Now based on time worked, workers will be paid for the exact time worked. Okay, suppose I've worked from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. okay, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Now for this exact timing hours I will be paid. This method is not expensive. There will be no dispute in case of workers regarding the payment of wages, but in actual of small concerns, that this procedure is really costly, because you have to bring in the machine, you have to install the machine, even if it is attendance, ledgers, everything, you will have to the maintenance, there will be one particular person who will be appointed to check the register of attendance and everything as such, so it is a little expensive. So this is how the time recording clock card is. This is the format of it. Now next is your time booking. Okay, now time booking is nothing but, okay, time booking basically refers to the time which is actually utilized by the workers in concerned department, that is job, process or operation. Now the following documents are generally maintained for time bookkeeping depending upon the size of the organization or the degree of accuracy. That is, for the first thing that will be maintained is job ticket or job card, daily timesheet, weekly timesheet, combined time and job card, piece of work card. This is basically the various formats you will come across. Now what is job card or job ticket is nothing but, job card is nothing but it is used to record the time which is spent on each job. Suppose now you had to carry out production, that is for production you carried on some 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. that is the amount of time you will record. Okay, how much time you're spending on what work, and you have to specify it. Okay, now job card is also of two types. Job card is of two types, that is job order cost card, then job ticket. Okay, job order cost card, which contains of information regarding material consumption as well as the times which is spent by the operators. Okay, now job ticket is nothing but which is used by the operator, by supervisor, and contains only the operation details at the end of each day, and timekeeper collects all these cards and records the time of the job. Okay, you will have to mention as to what is the time you're taking to do the particular job. You have to specify each and every detail, and the particular person who is appointed, the supervisor, will check it. Now this is the form, this is how the job ticket card looks like. Okay, this is the information it consists of. This is the format. Next you have daily timesheet. Daily timesheet is nothing but these are maintained where card time recorders are not used. Okay, where time recorders are not used, there is only this is basically mostly used where a number of small jobs are undertaken during the working hours. Okay, during the working hours, if there is any small job which is taking place, only then based on, like, suppose you had to assemble something, or you had to move out to give a ledger or something like that, this is only for small works. Now a daily timesheet is allotted to each worker on which he enters the time which is spent on each job, standing order number during the day, submits the order to forward for verification. Basically whatever job he's doing in the entire day, he will have to mention, and this is again the format of the daily timesheet, which is containing of the following details. This is how it looks like. Okay, now after which you will have your weekly timesheet. Your weekly timesheet is nothing but, instead of your daily basis or your or on ongoing basis or anything as such, you will have to submit it weekly. Now the difference is basically in a week, whatever you're doing, whatever work you're doing, you will have to specify, and it has less paperwork also, because compared to your daily timesheets. Now in daily means it will become really hectic for the worker to record each and everything on a daily basis. So weekly timesheet is in a way much easier. So this is how your weekly timesheet looks like. This is the format of weekly timesheet. Okay, next you have your combined time and job card. Combined time and job card is nothing but you will mention your job specifications also. You will mention the timings also. So this is your combined job card. Okay, even here the idle time, whatever the time you haven't worked also you have to mention, and both it is your attendance as well as the time which is spending on different job. You see, you record your attendance, your time spent on different job, and whatever time you haven't worked. Suppose 3 to 4 you took break and you took idle time, you had no work, that also you have to mention, and this is how the format looks like. Okay, this is the format of combined time and job card. Next you have piece work card. Now piece work card is nothing but this card consists of the employees who are paid on piece basis. Okay, this card may be given one job for one work done on several jobs. Okay, suppose you have to do a particular job, but one by one you have to do it. So basically if you're being paid by piece work, then you will be given as piece work card. Okay, and this is the details of the card. This is how the card looks like, and these are the details that the employee has to fill in and give in order to get his particular payment. Okay, after which you have your idle time. Idle time is nothing but it is a portion of hours which are not utilized for productive purpose. Suppose you had to produce pencil. Okay, this was the pencil. Now suppose 3 to 4 you haven't worked. Okay, and you haven't made any production, so it is the number of hours paid which is not utilized for productive purpose. Okay, basically idle time is the time wherein you haven't used that particular time for any productive purpose. Now you have two types of idle time, that is normal and abnormal. Now normal idle time is nothing but it represent inevitable loss of labor hours arising out of normal situations. Example, okay, now what are the examples of idle time? Is nothing but you have your time lost between factory gate and place of work. From factory gate you will have to work till the place of work. Okay, then your lunch break, then time lost in shifting the machines, tools, changes from one job to another, then time lost in power failure. Suppose there is no suppose the current goes, okay, on machine breakdowns or waiting for material. So these are the normal times, normal situations wherein you lose out on time, wherein you do not work. Now causes of normal idle time. Okay, a part of idle time is unavoidable and is considered as normal occurrence in the factor. This is considered as normal, that is traveling from one job department to another job, like just in your college how we move from your staff room to your classroom. Okay, then next is the distance covered between your factory gate and actual place of work, a lapse of time between finishing one job and starting another job. Suppose I'm finishing this topic, I will take time to start the next topic, the time. Okay, then time to overcome fatigue, that is laziness, then tea and lunch break, and machine of job setting. This is your normal idle time. Okay, these are the basic causes, what causes normal idle time. Then what is the accounting treatment? How do you treat idle time is what is given in your next topic. Now the wages, now how is your accounting treatment done is, the wages paid for the normal idle time period is treated as production overhead and absorbed into cost product by adopting an absorption rate. Okay, the normal idle time is tool setting etc. and can be charged at inflated rate. Jobs are charged at inflated rate. Basically you'll have an inflated rate at which you're charging your normal idle time. Okay, so this was with your normal idle time and how you are going to treat it in terms of accounts for your normal idle time. Next you have your abnormal idle time. Now abnormal idle time is nothing but it represents the lost time beyond the normal allowed hours. These were your normal hours, like you are shifting, you're moving from your factory gate, you are taking lunch breaks etc. Now what is abnormal? Abnormal is example strike, lockout, fire, flood, excess rainfall because of which you will not be able to go to work. Okay, excessive internal power, example your COVID-19 situation and everything. As such, these are abnormal idle times. Now idle times can be controlled by adopting this following measures. Okay, abnormal idle time, that is proper materials and product planning and follow-up system, timely purchase of material components, minimizing machine breakdown by adopting preventive measures. Okay, maintenance, preparation, analysis of labor utilization report with break of idle time. Basically these are the measures which you can adopt and you can avoid the normal abnormal idle time. Now what are the causes of abnormal idle time? Okay, it is temporary lack of work, machine breakdown, power failure, storage of raw materials, waiting for tools, okay, waiting for jobs due to unplanned production, stoppage of work, strikes and lockouts, floods, earthquakes, accounting treatment of. Now next your topic is accounting treatment of idle time. Okay, now how is the accounting treatment done? How are you going to treat it in your books of accounts, and how are you going to show your abnormal idle time? Is the wages paid for abnormal idle time can be avoided by taking proper care and caution. Okay, if it is not treated as a part of cost and excluded cost accounts, and it's straight away debited to costing profit and loss account. Okay, you're straightly debiting it to costing profit and loss account. Okay, you're debiting the cost to the profit and loss account. Now the reasons for idle time are to be analyzed, and the management needs to know what is the reason for the avoidable situation, and correction has to be formalized, and you have to minimize your idle time. Okay, an idle time report is prepared as shown in table 6.1. okay, earlier previous tables, idle time is shown in your previous tables. In the table 6.1, and necessary information whatever has to be given for that particular thing. Now next, accounting of idle time. Now what is this accounting for idle time? Is nothing but normal idle time to all workers should be collected, okay, under standing order. By giving instruction, all the idle time has to be collected. You have to submit as to whatever you saw your formats in that particular time. You have to mention whatever job you did, how much time you wasted, whatever is the time you entered, and what is the time you exiting, and you have to give your job specification also, okay. Abnormal idle time should be collected as per standing order, number of orders code, and everything will be taken into consideration in your profit and loss account, okay. Now this is the necessary report which you have to prepare and you have to give, that is labor utilization report and idle time report. Next is you have your overtime basis. Now overtime is nothing but this happens in various situations wherein you're working more than your actual time you are spending on working. Now overtime is nothing but your extra time that is put in by workers who work beyond the normal hours of work. It is normally paid at a rate. Suppose now your working time is 8 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock in the night. Suppose you want to work overtime till 12 o'clock, so you will be paid for your overtime also, that is extra of your normal wage, okay. Usually it is one of the half or double or the normal age. It will particularly be fixed, that is known as overtime premium, okay. That is the extra amount. Now accounting of overtime premium, how are you going to account for an overtime premium? Is nothing but if overtime is paid to complete a job at the request of the customer, overtime premium is charged to the job order concerned, whatever the job order is there, but based on that particular order number only it is. Suppose you had to carry out your production, if you're working overtime in order to produce that particular thing, only on that job order number you will charge overtime, okay. Then next, if overtime is undertaken in order to cope up with the increased production, as I told you all in that particular thing. Now if overtime is any capital order, if you've got any order, if you have to complete that particular project in a little time, if you do not have enough work or something, enough time or something, then you can overtime. Or if you've or in case of lockouts or floods or anything as such. Now suppose if you are incurred any idle time and you have to recover that particular amount of work, if you have to complete that work which you lost because of the various situations, then you will have to stay back for overtime and you will have to work based on your overtime basis in order to complete that particular work of the organization. Next is how will you control overtime, okay. First, authorization should be obtained before overtime is allowed. You have to firstly consult the top department, and you have to ask whether this authority can be given in order for the employees to be working overtime or not. Then a statement has to be prepared and it has to be given wherein overtime is unavoidable. Then what are the overtime working hours? Then wherever overtime is becoming frequent and substantial, then you have to the cost department has to report it to the management. Then the cost of overtime should be received periodically, okay. Whatever the cost is there, it has to be received periodically by the employees. Now, methods of remuneration or payment of wages and incentive. This is the payroll department and this is the kind of method they follow. This is the slip. This is the format of the pay slip. Now, the payroll department is responsible. Payroll is nothing but you are paying salaries. So, there is a payroll department. This is a particular department who is responsible in order to make the payments of employees of laborers and employees, okay. It is responsible for making payment of salary of wages to each employee. Payroll accounting department mostly is the computation of gross and net amount which is payable to each employee. Payroll and pay slips are prepared in this particular purposes. What is the basic wage, what is the deductions, and what is the total amount which is finally credited to the employee's account, okay. After which you have again a particular, that is wage sheet payroll system. That is the kind of, this is the particular format which has been followed. Now next topic, you have your system of wage payment. This is the necessary system and these are the following features of wage system, okay. These are very self-explanatory, where explanation is required I will give it to you all. The wage system should be simple, it should be practical and flexible. You should be able to implement it, and it should be flexible because you have to make necessary changes because of the changing factors. It should provide adequate incentives to workers. It should be fair and equitable. It should be acceptable to all workers. A guarantee minimum wage should be assured to all workers. Escalation clause, okay, providing an automatic rise in wage should be provided. The administrative and other costs should be minimum. It should adhere to labor laws. Obviously any wage payment or organization, it has to follow all the rules and regulations of the as issued by the government, okay. They should be prepared for reward and work done. The system should provide quantity of the product. The system should control waste of materials as well as defective. These are the features of a good wage system. Okay. Now, the remuneration methods and incentive schemes. Okay, what are the remuneration methods and what are the incentive scheme? That is benefits, that is bonus. Okay, bonus and extra amount that is given to you all. The remuneration is nothing but remuneration. Remuneration means what? Remuneration is salary. Okay, remuneration means salary. Okay, salary or the wage. So remuneration is nothing but it is a reward for labor and service, while incentives is a motivation. Okay, this is a reward for labor and service, whereas incentive is motivation. Incentive is nothing but extra amount. In suppose if a company is incurring lot of profits, you get certain bonus and everything, right, to perform effectively by way of monetary and non-monetary inducements. Monetary, it could be either monetary incentive or it could be non-monetary incentive. Now, monetary incentive is basically it is made in excess and over perquisites. Monetary incentives refers to those payments which are made in excess, overtime rates and piece rates, and are related to the output either in individual or group. Okay, next is your remuneration system. The remuneration system is nothing but wages are paid either on time basis or output basis. Time or output basis. Various methods of remuneration may be as follows. These are time wages. Under time wages you have your ordinary level, high level and graduated level. You have your piece rates. Under your piece rates you have various things. Under combination and piece rates, again it's classified into two. Then your bonus system is classified into individual, group and other incentive scheme. Again, these are the various schemes which are given to you all. Okay, after which you have your next topic, which is time wages. Time wages is nothing but under this payment method of payment is made in the time worked at such method should be in allowance with the minimum wages act, that is time rate is equal to hours worked rate. Okay, time rate is classified as ordinary level, high level and graduate level as it is given earlier. Now, our ordinary level is nothing but the normal level, which is calculated for hours worked multiplied by the hourly rate. Okay, calculated for hours worked, sorry, it is not hours, it is hours worked multiplied by hourly rate of wages at any time, which is the time when wage is paid extra. Now, this particular thing has various advantages as well as disadvantages. Now, what are the advantages of ordinary level wage? Okay, it is simple and easy to calculate. You have less clerical work and easier to negotiate with labor unions. The disadvantages are basically as follows: that is no room for skilled and efficient workers, fail to attract better workers. Cost per unit is not known, no motivation to increase the output. Okay, now how in what situations you can apply this particular ordinary rate is where work is not repetitive. Suppose if you do this particular work, you're not going to do it again. Okay, then where unit is small and work requires close supervision, where services cannot be directly measured, where the work demands quality of production, and where workers have no control over the output in process industries. Only in these cases this particular time limit can be applied. Okay, now the time rate at which high wages level. Now, the time rate is nothing but it is the time rate wherein the overtime and all you're paid extra wages. So based on that, you will be seeing as to how it fluctuates. Time rates are fixed, okay, at a higher level compared to rates which are preventing in the industry in the neighboring areas. Overtime is normally not paid. The objective to attract efficient employees who cannot meet higher level of productivity. There is reduction in cost per unit. Basically, it is just trying to say as to what is the time rate and how it is fixed, and usually how overtimes are not paid, and how how every cost per unit is reduced of the labor as well as the overhead in order to maintain efficiency over a long period of time. Next, you have graduated time rate. Graduated time rate is nothing but this is a particular method wherein it is consisting two elements. Okay, two elements, that is basic rate and fixed. And fixed basic rate, which is fixed with the nature of job and various elements like allowances. Now, this particular system is very complicated and difficult to administer because it is taking into consideration lot of rates, that is fixed rate, basic rates, various elements it is taking. So it is a very complicated job rate graduated method. Okay. Next, you have Halsey's incentive plan. Now, Halsey's incentive plan is nothing but the system combines time wage with bonus for time saved. Now, under Halsey plan, the worker receives this guaranteed time wages whether he completes the job or operation written standard are fixed, he gets a bonus equal to 50% of wages. Okay, based on his wages he is getting equal 50%. Suppose if his salary is 18,000, similarly 50% of that particular thing, 18,000, 9,000 he will get as bonus. Okay, that is extra. Now the bonus plan, now bonus is suppose 50 divided by 100 into time saved, whatever time is saved into time rate. Earning is nothing but this is a particular formula as to how you calculate Halsey's-Weir plan. Okay, now earnings is equal to time wages plus bonus. Earnings is equal to TT into TR plus 50 divided by 100 into TS into TR. TT is nothing but the time taken, TR is the time rate, TS is the time saved. We will work out this particular problems if it is given in the further illustrations. Okay, now when we work out this particular problem for you all, you will know as to how we are going to calculate each and everything. Now next you have Roman incentive plan. Roman incentive plan is nothing but under this system bonus is determined by the ratio of time saved to the standard time. Time saved to the standard time. Normal time wages is guaranteed. Under Roman plan, bonus is calculated as follows. Bonus is equal to time saved divided by standard time into time taken into time rate. Earning is equal to time wages plus bonus. Okay, TT into TR plus TS divided by ST into TS into TR. This is the particular thing. With this we come to an end with your theory aspect. Now from the next video we will be starting off your practical problems. Thank you for watching.